Welcome to Chanthangeliard, home of Nothero the Cryptwalker and Springball, available in the link below. We come to you live from the heart of Lovecraft country, and we would like to take this moment to ask you to do us a favor.
If you could please hit the like and subscribe button located down below, it would be most appreciated.
Quite right, Mother. Thank you for your thoughts on this matter. We do hope you will join us for the rest of the episode, and if not, do hit that like and subscribe button. It would mean the world to us.
And now, on with the show.
In the immortal words of Jim Varney, golly Bob, howdy, welcome to Chanthangeliard from the heart of Lovecraft country in the birthplace of American religious liberty. My name is Chanthangeli, and this is Comics and Curios Inside the Studios, and my God, we've got a lot to talk about today. I'm looking forward to it. And how are you doing, Cranberry Langers? It is great to see you, my friend. I hope you were having a wonderful day, channel member and OG. Got a lot of cool stuff to talk about today. Lots going on. Lots of plates spinning. Hence the title of this stream. Thank God for diligent hands. My hands are certainly not idle lately in terms of work and all of the stuff I'm doing. And lots of cool stuff to show you guys. But it is great to be here on another Sunday. I have been, if you look over here, and that is 4 boxes. No, let me see. I think it's, 4 boxes tall of Nosfero books. Craziness. What's up, Caleb? How are you doing, man? It is great to see you. I hope you are doing well on this fine Sunday, my friend. Hello, Sean from Columbia, South Carolina. Heck yeah, man. How's it going over there in your neck of the woods, my friend? It is great to see you, Lloyd. Yeah, guys, lots of craziness going on. These books, I actually went through all of the oxidized editions, inspecting them for any kind of like damage, and then putting them in bags and boards. And I've got to, they wanted me to give them a total of books that weren't up to scratch, and so I'm gonna let them know that. But then I've also got to do all of, yes, Cranberry Lancers, yes indeed. If you missed last stream, I got the books in, and so I was watching one of my favorite movies of all time. I wouldn't say it's my favorite, but it's in the top 10, and it's on rewatch value. You're traveling to Tennessee. Get out of town, Lloyd. You got to be kidding me. That's awesome, man. Say hello to Tennessee for me while you're there. But yeah, so I got these books in, and I was just watching Jaws and bagging and boarding the books and just spending a little time on Amity Island. And yeah, these books are looking great, but there were some issues where because of the way they were packed, in some cases they got dinged, and I think there's about 86 books out of however many the order was that were dinged and, had some like lamination peeled off because of the, getting smashed from the side or whatever. And so I have to go and I have to let them know about that. But I mean, I hand inspect and bag every single book. It's not just I take them and throw them in a bag. I take them, I look at the cover, go around it, look at the back cover, go around it, and then I open up the back, and this is a really good example. This copy, they put the covers on separately, and this copy, while it was waiting to have the cover on, got this back page scratched. So imagine you've got this book sitting without a cover on it, and whatever happened, it got some scratches on it. So this is one of the books that didn't make the cut that I keep here, because I go, all right, I don't like that page got scratched. And this one had a ding that, of course, peeled up the cover stock on this one, so it split the paper. So this one didn't make the cut either. But that's what we have, you know. Yeah, you noticed that scratch. Yeah, I noticed it too. I was like, this one's... So these are two that didn't make the cut. But yes, the books look beautiful. They're incredibly well printed. And Caleb, it's great to see you, man. Let me see what else I've got going on here. So yeah, for those of you guys who are wondering, here is the art edition of the book with no words on it whatsoever. And of course, the oxidized edition has it. But man, did these colors come out good. I am so excited with how these came out. Really nice. And of course, now I'm working into the head sketched here. And so this right here is a piece that I tried on some new paper, some new illustration board media paper I want to try out. But to be honest with you, it didn't... actually, I got to stop using that expression, because it always sounds like, to be honest with you, as opposed to everything else. But it's and why would one lie about a watercolor painting? I can't imagine. But the thing is that I was looking at it, and I like to work on a more substantial surface. It's no knock against the Strathmore paper, but I like to send people something that feels like it's more durable and more substantial. If you've ever had a head sketch from me, the lightest I've ever gone, which was still heavy material, was a discontinued paper I used to love, and I used to be I just loved this paper. I hate that they stopped making it. But it was a paper called Cold Press Strathmore Gemini Watercolor Paper, 300-pound cold press. And it was just such a dream to work on. And unfortunately, they discontinued it. And so I haven't been able to use it or get a hold of it for years now. And so I switched to something that I also really like and have fallen in love with. What if the watercolor painting betrayed you? It really could be, but I shouldn't cover for it, should I? I mean, that would be terrible if I did. So what I ended up doing is I said I got to switch this painting over to the paper that I'm happy with. And so this right here is the Crescent board, the Crescent illustration board. And Crescent illustration board is a surface where you have illustration and you've got it, illustration paper, and you've got it really thoroughly. I see you, Cranberry Landry, you're cracking me up, man. I wouldn't. I would try to avoid it. But it's just got this really nice, durable surface to it. And so what I'm always trying to do when I look at this stuff is what's going to give me both the best when it comes to originals, the best visual outcome, obviously, but then there's also the best tactile outcome. And I want to feel as though both when I'm printing the books and when I'm making my artwork, that it's got a really nice tactile feel to it. And so that's what you're going to see when I'm working. And in this particular case, the books, and it didn't dawn on me till I was flipping through these books, is that I'm sure I mentioned this to you guys, but again, I tell you what, guys, I had a crazy late night last night working on... I've just been working around the clock nonstop. But I had a late night last night, but I probably have mentioned this before, that they had to order in special paper for Nosfero because they don't typically, the printer I use, doesn't typically keep in stock that heavy of paper. And when you get the book and you feel the interior paper, it is really nice stock. Because that's an important part of it when it comes to making books, is how the book feels when you're holding it and when you're, flipping through it. You want it to feel substantial, Yeah, the colors don't bleed on this stuff at all. So here's where you'll see that bleeding, Lloyd. When you're working with, how do I put this? When you're working on hot press, typical illustration board surface, the colors are going to bleed because the surface coating is this very thin treatment of the hot press, but also of just the paper in general. And behind that is nothing really holding the paper together. It just falls apart. So the surface bleeds in ways that are very difficult to control, and it's just not meant for it. I mean, it's just not great paper, to put it simply. Crescent illustration board and it used to be number 80 Bainbridge board before I think that was discontinued, is what every illustrator working in gouache and in many cases acrylic would use. Now, if you were using acrylic and you were using something heavy, like like doing a really heavy acrylic painting, but you could even do it with oils. What they would typically do is they would take the illustration board, they would spray adhesive it to a sheet of foam core or a sheet of cardboard, very strong corrugated cardboard. Oh, you're very welcome, Lloyd. You're very welcome. And they would adhere it to that and work on it so it wouldn't buckle. Drew Struzan actually worked on illustration board. He worked on illustration board, God rest him, and he would wet the back so it wouldn't buckle and then gesso the front so that it would stay flat. But illustration board is the preferred medium of illustrators because it's easy to store, it's lightweight, and it's incredibly durable when you treat it right. And you don't have to. Let me be clear. I don't like materials that I have to fuss with. It's not my thing. I want materials that are going to work and be easy to use, and that's why whenever I'm teaching or whenever I'm giving people advice, and that's sort of what I'm doing over on my Patreon when I'm just talking about, it's a lot of conversation. There's definitely some examples. It's a lot of me just kind of sharing notes and sharing materials right now. But that's the thing that I try to do over there, which is you don't want to introduce people to things that are a nightmare to use. Certainly not at first, but then at a certain point you think, why bother even having it a part of your life where something takes 1,000 stages in order for you to be able to use it? It doesn't appeal to me at all. And so that's been the thing that I've kind of always tried to dissuade people from doing, which is just using materials that are a pain in the rear to work with. And so when I'm doing this, while the other material I was using was fine, it was getting a decent result, there was something about the lack of weight in terms of it wasn't mounted on board, and the surface that I just didn't like. I thought, how am I going to feel when I get to the finishing stages of this head sketch, which I really should start calling these things head paintings. They're hardly sketches. I mean, this is stuff that would go in my art book. Lloyd has the piece that inspired this piece that I'm doing for Mark's Music Obsession. He has one of my favorite he has two of my favorite paintings of all time, to be honest. But again, why am I saying to be honest? Again, weird. I must be tired, or I must have heard it in a movie or something somewhere. But I love that dragon painting so much. I think it was so hard to do, but I'm really happy with it. But the Bride of Frankenstein painting, head sketch that I did, I've had so many professional illustrators and artists come to me, and they're like, I love that. Did you come up with that? Like, did you? And I was like, just, that's what the painting came up with, you know? Yeah, yes, reduce the complexity to get to the actual painting. Yes, 100%, making the artwork. And thank you so, I appreciate that, Lloyd. Your support means the world to me, man, and you've gotten some really good artwork out of me in that sense. Like, how do I put it? A friend of mine was talking to me who's a guitar player, and we were just talking about that idea of songwriting, and that it's almost like you're fishing and the song sort of comes out of the ether. There's a lot of people who believe that. With art, I think that's true as well. When someone comes to you with a commission or commissions you to do work, they're moving you in a direction that is collaborative with their commission, and you are dealing with a subject that you might not have thought to deal with at that intensity level as you do when someone, you know, buys one of the head sketches or commissions a painting. And to me, the goal is to make the whole greater than the sum of the parts, and that's really what happened with both of those, and that's what I could already sense was happening with this. Like, sometimes I'll be working on it and I'll go, oh, the painting is deciding to go in this direction. And it really does. It's wild to watch. And you see that. I mean, I was listening to people talking about one of the things I love about bonus features on movies and Blu-rays is when people talk about the casting issues with people's availability that lead to great casting moments. You know what I mean? That Robert Shaw in Jaws was not the first choice, and you think, how is that possible after the Indianapolis speech and him taking from one of his movies, the farewell and adieu to you, fair Spanish ladies. Just great stuff. Both are awesome. Thank you so much. Frankenstein's the next one for me. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to that, Lloyd. Frankenstein, you know my history with Frankenstein and monsters and the classic literature, and nothing is as exciting to me as the idea of doing a Frankenstein painting for you right now, come to think of it. That's going to be an interesting trip, you know? Yes, both, absolutely both. I can't get to the point lately. Let me call up some reference on this guy because I want to see something I was looking to try to avoid. I always try to make sure I'm paying attention to the subject as much as I can here. Have him on here somewhere. Lots of artwork. Oh, there he is. There's the creature. There we go. One of the things for me is that's why I can't get into having a formula for how I draw. Like, I definitely have. Everybody comes to develop, and I've talked about this a little bit over on the Patreon, the Bare Knuckle Art School Patreon. Everybody's got to pick up and adapt a what we used to call when you'd put in fake type when you were doing graphic design back in the day it was called Greeking, which is to say just scribbling in a form. You draw 2 lines and you'd scribble in the forms, and it was how you made a placeholder for what the body of the text shape was going to look like when you were sort of working out a design. And one of the things I thought was really cool when I learned about it in art school. And for me, I've got to have a general idea for a figure, but there are figures and poses I've painted before that I know how to paint. And right now, this figure right here has been fighting me and disagreeing with me like crazy. It doesn't, yes, absolutely. That's why I think one of the big reasons why I titled the stream, Thank God for Diligent Hands as opposed to Idle Hands. It's because it just keeps me on, like, you know, on the straight, and maybe on the straight and narrow, but it keeps me with a sense of purpose when I work. And when I was drawing this female figure, the thing that got me about it was, and I don't know where I'm going to go with this, but this was the pose I had on the initial sketch, so to speak. Like, this was the pose I had. Let me just kind of knock it back a little bit here. And this is the pose that I have been roughing in and out. This is the best way I could put it. Both roughing it in and then roughing it out. I'm not sure where I want it to go. Let me erase that figure back because I wasn't happy with the graphite anyway that I was using there. It was just a little too... It was a little too pushy, right? So let's erase that for a second. So, when I initially started working on this figure, right, that was right here. What's up, Scribe Comics? How are you doing, man? Good to see you. How is the writing going? Love seeing your art, man. Very cool. Everybody saying hello. Will you let the female figure push you around? That's right. Yes, I will. Definitely with art, it's always going to win. It's still undefeated. You're killing me, dude. Oh, my word. So, yeah, like, in this case, I'll show you what started to happen with this figure. I'll show you what was happening when I started it. See if you guys can see what I'm talking about here. In my original sketch, She's supposed to be looking up. That was how I imagined it. In Lloyd's painting, she's looking up in this direction, and she's got her back arched. Actually, she's looking backwards almost in this direction, but she's got her back arched. The Bride of Frankenstein within the Bride of Frankenstein. It's a two illustration. That's the way that the thing came together. With this, and this is the trippy thing about it. With this, she wants to look back. I don't know why she wants to look back, but she does. That is not how I imagined this painting going, or how I imagined this painting going. So the question becomes, and these are the things that Lloyd knows well, and Mark knows as well, because Mark owns original or two of mine. These are the things that I then have to ask the question, because I'm intending to do this, but then it's deciding to do that. And come to think of it, hang on a second, guys. You know how we are. It's like Mr. Rogers in here, man. That's my dream, by the way. Love Mr. Rogers, but let me grab something. Let me go to the land of make-believe, which is pretty much this studio sometimes. Except for the work. Yeah, if it wasn't for having to work so hard, this would be the land of make-believe. But I just realized I have this guy right here. Speaking of reference, I have this absolutely outstanding figure by NECA, which is this thing is excellent. So I feel like he should be hanging out here with us while we work, don't you think? Shouldn't he be? Yeah, flexibility is how you don't break. You know what's funny, whether you knew it or not? You were just paraphrasing a line describing Ichabod Crane in The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, one of my favorite audiobooks. And welcome, Corey Landis. It's great to see you, man. I hope you are doing well on this fine Sunday. So, now what does that start to say? Yes, just watched that movie about Mr. Rogers. Yeah, a good dude, man. Love me some Mr. Rogers. Really good stuff. Oh, sorry, guys. Didn't mean to bump the camera there. So what is this? What does this mean when you see something like this? Like, what does it start to say? What does it start to be about? Well, for me, this is the alarming, the alarming question I have, because it means more work, but the painting doesn't care. The painting does not care. The painting is, I'm serving the painting, the art, the story. Okay. Here's something about Comicsgate. Here's something about creator-owned comics when you're the writer, when you're the artist. If you approach it from a formula, your stuff is going to be dead on arrival. My personal opinion. It's going to be dead on arrival. If you're like, this is how it goes, you have to be open to whimsy and serendipity, and there has to be someone else in the process, even if it's just you, as strange as that may sound, right? Because I find myself illustrating things I didn't want to illustrate. It's crazier than that. It's crazy. Your Cranberry Lanterns, this is the thing. It's much more of a visual kind of metaphor, but I found myself thinking, if you know the movie well, and I'm assuming everybody here is at least in passing aware of Creature from the Black Lagoon because it's such a great flick. But I found myself wondering if, coming off of his chin here, I should have his hand grabbing her leg, as it did so often. The hand, I don't know if you recall this from the film, but the hand always reaching out of the water until you get your first big view of the creature. Now, the thing about that is, if we start to do that, what's up, Michelle Bowers? Happy Sunday. I hope you are doing well on this fine day. But now let's take this another step, right? If you look at the creature through all of the ripples and through all of these things, he always has this element, and fish have this as well, as having this element of, like almost like flower petals where the fins come off and where the gills are on this character. And I'm finding myself thinking, like, maybe the hand in that sense is less of a prison, although it does add a little bit of visual drama here. And maybe it's more of a rebirth of this character. Rib cage. and she's kind of being born into this. She's making contact with the mystery of the Amazon in that sense, which is what the movie's about. I mean, you've got this lovely Julia Adams in that movie, and it's just I guys, we only have so many paintings and so much time, so many streams, so much art, so many books, in our lives, and you really want. I just don't want there to be anything that isn't worth the doing at this point. I've felt that way for a long time, but as you guys know, the older you get, the longer you've been working, the more you want to spend the time you have with the people that you really care about, and the more you want to, make sure the things that you are doing, that you're present for them, even if they seem like mundane things. It's affected the way I do the dishes. It's affected the way I clean house. It's affected the way I pack books. It's not about doing things that are important to others in the grand scheme of things. It's doing the things that you've decided matter and doing them well and doing them present, if that makes sense. And it's something that people in, the 18th century, when I look at the Townsend's channel, they were really aware of when they were cooking, what their resources were. Yeah, this is how it's going to go. I had even corrected it from this original sketch, but I was kidding myself. That element of the hand. You know what's funny, Lloyd? If you're still there, every time someone commissions and gets one of these head sketches, I'm telling you, you guys send me down a road that sometimes it becomes a series. Sometimes it becomes a thing where people go, where did you come up with that idea? And I'm like, I came up with that idea on a commission. I don't want to ever get to the point where I'm like, and here is head sketch number 50, and it looks the same as head sketch number 25. For me personally, I admire that people can do that. I mean that sincerely. It is not easy. When you see Hergé banging out, Tintin sketches blindfolded, you're like, wow, that is freaking awesome. But in my case, because they're paintings, it doesn't work that way. Whenever I go on Comicsgate Kings and I'm doing a painting, I always, I have to go on that show with the attitude of this will probably go south because it's a painting. I don't know where it's going. I'm not penciling it out first. I'm drawing it or I'm roughing it in with paint. But do you see how much more lyrical this pose is? We've talked about it a lot, and it's not like, how do I put it? Let me use something to hold this up. I've been listening to this audiobook lately, and it's so good, I can't take how good it is. But it's a great book to use to prop up this painting, so I have a good angle on it for you guys. There we go. But one of my biggest influences in the world, and somebody who really... He did a ton of commercial art, and man, was this guy, the Cat's Pajamas, of course, is Alphonse Mucha. I've talked about him before. Thank you, Cranberry. You know what I'm talking about, because you've been... Shoot, what are we at 10 years yet? We're getting to 10 years soon, I feel. You've watched me do this, and you've been here for the conversations, just like more and more of you guys have been, which thank you guys so much. Make sure you hit the like and share this out if you have not yet, but I'm going to be here with you guys anyway. So that's the great thing about all this. But I'm trying to see what I can show of Mucha's work. I mean, I don't think this is going to get me in too much trouble, but look at these little designs for menus and cards. This is the Czechoslovakia. This is the Slavic, Eastern European cold weather beauty. As weird as that sounds. People think of Art Nouveau as French. It's not. It's much more about it grows out of, with Mucha, a hardier, rougher, more intense landscape. And it's why you need to have some grit in your life and in your approach to work in order to do it. And Mucha never missed an opportunity to create a figure in his sketches and in his pencils that had that sort of lyrical quality to it. Do you see what I mean? Like, there's a hand holding a smaller figure there. I mean, that is just gorgeous. I mean, I love this guy's stuff. He is so... I love that he illustrated the Our Father prayer. You just don't get any better than that. Talk about a perfect pairing of artists. And so, yeah, I don't have any reference for this pose. The initial one I did, I found a really great bit of photo reference of a woman swimming. And I thought, well, this will make my life easier. I've got this. And then the painting just decided that's not how it goes, kiddo. That's not what we're doing. We're not in that business. It almost becomes... because I think this arm should not be resolute. This arm should be in between. It should be in between places. It should be, in a lot of ways, it's almost like the decision of going into the subconscious versus choosing the conscious realm. And yeah, I'm just sort of thinking about... I'm just thinking a lot about the surface of the water. Do you guys know what I mean? It's, boy, I tell you what, guys. It's so fun to get to spend this time with you guys talking about art and talking about the things I've been doing on this channel and with my books and the stuff that I'm making. But let me grab the art edition because it doesn't have words on it and you'll understand what I mean. But I spent a lot of time when I was doing this cover on the pose here. On the pose and what she was going to be doing. And there's two things that she's doing on this cover that are of incredible importance to the story, but also incredible importance to the painting. She's taking his hand as one being pulled up, one being elevated, but at the same time, she's securing this book. And this book right here is, in many ways, the MacGuffin of the story. It's kind of the MacGuffin of it's this evil book that they're trying to keep away from evil, that they have yet to find a way to destroy it. And it's his lifting people up, but also keeping the evil at bay and really planting it in the ground or pinning it down, which is what was so important about this particular figure. The duality of that in the pyramid composition was so important, but then also this acknowledgement that, one, there are dark mysteries that are beyond, dark mysteries of oppression pushing us down, but there's also these elements of distraction. And there's, for everyone, for all these characters, it's not to say, it's not just one thing, and that's why it was also important for me to have the eye and teeth this monster sort of peering out from behind. This Nosfero, and it's so hard to describe. I tell you what, every time I catch a glimpse of my my wife's intro, man, it makes me smile. I can't believe she wrote what she wrote. She made the book, but it's the same thing with all of this stuff. Like, to imagine thinking about what I'm thinking about with this head sketch, but thinking about that all the way through the book. And it was the same thing. All I wanted to do was do a quick little illustration. We know where that takes me, don't we, now? I'm like, I'll make this easy on myself. I'm not going to do a new cover, and it just wanted to be a cover. This absolutely wanted to be a cover. That it was going to be a cover. It did not care what I had to say about it at all. Because you get to a certain point where you think, how many covers do I have in me? Like, is this going to be something that I really like, that I'm really thrilled with? And as I started working on it, it just demanded to be a cover. Wild how that works. Really wild how that works. And so, let me see here. So now, I'm going to play around with. Let me grab my big brush so I don't make the same mistake I made the other week. And I am going to be getting to more streams. Things have been very turbulent and crazy lately. We get to the end of the year for my wife, and then we roll into the next thing, right? And the books and the shipping and all of that kind of stuff that we got to do, and her stuff, the work stuff she's got to do. And she will definitely be helping me with the labels and all of that, as always. But it's a very chaotic kind of time. And I'm doing my best to always keep track of and keep on top of my streams, because I want to do my the horror of painting streams, which I'm going to be doing. I was planning on doing one this week, and then it's just things continually are, obviously great that the books are here, but things keep, coming in, and it's just nuts sometimes. What is up? Tiny Effort, the original Springball fan, has checked in. It's great to see you. Hello, Shanth. Hello, everyone, and hello to you. How goes the wood carving, my friend? What's your least intended favorite piece? Oh, that is a fantastic question. Woo! I gotta think on that. Least intended favorite piece. Wow, I gotta think on that. There's a few. Lloyd's definitely comes into that conversation, so I'd say that one for sure. But least intended favorite piece. There was a piece I did of a character, a pinup of a character from a book called Downcast that I was commissioned to do. And I knew little of the book, little of the character, and it was just going to be an underwater piece. And the way that piece came out was just insane. I almost want to see if. Let me see if I can find it. Hang on a second. Let me see. File. Scene. Let's do overlays. New image overlay. And then let me see if I can find it. When did I do this? June 23rd. So this must have been recent. There you go. This piece right here. So, if you've never seen it before, and funny that we're dealing with underwater on this stream, this is an acrylic on illustration board, and it was done as a pinup, and the amount of... I really liked it. As it was a nightmare at first, but I really started to like how it was coming together. I was looking at inspired by Gil Elfgren, and then I was inspired by all these different pulp artists, so I really liked it, how it was coming along. But at a certain point, you kind of, you're just so absorbed in the piece, you're ready for it to be done. But the amount of people who have reached out to me, and they're like, I love this painting, is it still available, is it for sale? I don't even know if I know where this painting is. I don't even know if I know who owns the original for this offhand. Because it's sold so fast. Gosh, I wonder who bought this. Might be one of you guys who bought it. I don't know. That'd be really funny. But it was just like... So many people have reached out to me if this is still available. And it wasn't done. It wasn't like done for that purpose. It was gone before it was done. Wood carving's going well. I'm so glad to hear it, by the way. I'm making a custom wood amplifier specifically for harmonica playing it. Wow. It's wood carved and ornate. I'll add it to my profile photo when it's complete, I guess. Yes. Awesome. That's so great. It's got 4 secret subtle components to it. Yes. And it just kept growing, and that Cranberry Landers is why, and it started many things that led to this right here, which is the underwater figure, and how I never thought about. I've drawn figures floating in space, which is to say, in the ether. That's happening in Nosfero too, but I don't think that stuff became such a heavy feature of my work until after this painting. There's a floating figure in the painting I did. In many paintings I did after this. Where the figure is floating through space, this female figure floating through space. And who knows? Who knows? I mean, this might have been the start of it. And this right here is the continuation of 2 things that grew out of commissions I've done. So yeah, I think the control aspect of it, you've got to be controlled in your discipline, but there's a fallacy about control that is not true, in my opinion. It's not... we're not really being in total control is going to lead to some very, what's the word I like to use? Staid artwork. Very. Let me see if I can talk about this in a general sort of sense. A lot of times you'll see artists, particularly when you're teaching, who are so frustrated because their work doesn't connect with people, and they think, but I'm doing everything right. This person isn't doing things right. Look, this part of their anatomy on their figure could be better, and this could be better, and that could be better, and I did all that right. And that's not how art works at all. It's just not. It's, yes, you need to learn and be studied when you're doing it, but at a certain point with anything, if you can't form through your work and through what you do, you have to form a connection with the audience that even you might not fully understand. And so it's a little bit like arguing with your resume when you get into that mentality. It's not good. And it's a sign of, frankly, not really being an artist. It's like if you have to think about it, really, really hard in order to just treat people in with basic common human decency, chances are it's not your thing, and that's a whole other thing you got to work out. But when it comes to painting, it should activate you, and it should excite you to think that this is for somebody else. I'm not. When I'm bagging these books and boarding these books, and I'm like really focused on it, you can throw them in a bag. It's possible. I mean, in my case, I don't think I can live with myself in that case, but it is physically possible for somebody to do that. But it's the person who puts in as much time as they possibly can into, this type of work shouldn't be capable of doing that, just like they shouldn't be capable of just, throwing any old junk out into the world. It's just not the way to do it. And it has a law of diminishing return, certainly, in effect on it at all times. People can tell if you don't care. I really do think that, and it's frustrating for people because a lot of people like the idea, I think, of being creative, but they don't like the responsibility in terms of it's a bar that you have to hit. It's not just something where you're done. If you're really driven with your work, oh, that's going to be fun. Look at that. I love when stuff like that starts to happen. But it's the same thing, like if your goal is to get it over with and have people go, okay, you're good, you're all set. It's yeah, I like that name too. It's great. Yeah. Yes, indeed. You guys are cracking me up, man. But yeah, that's a thing I think a lot about. And so when people get head sketches or inked head sketches in their books, they know that they're getting something that is unique. I had a creator who backed my book, and who I knew well enough for this, but asked me if they could make a request on an interior ink head sketch, which I typically don't do. But I knew the guy. I mean, if somebody has my phone number at that point, and I pick up, that's gonna happen. And he asked me for this request, and it was for something that was a real nightmare. It was something I like. It was a Peter Cushing, and I don't do portraits in ink head sketches, but I thought to myself, well, this is wild. When am I going to get another chance to do this? Do you see the light and shadow and that interplay right there? That is such a big part of this. Such a big part of this. And what's happening with this figure over here? Like, I see her face looking in different directions. Like, I see her both looking up and looking back, and I'm not sure which one is going to win. Honest to God, I'm not sure which one's going to win. I do know that the idea of where I was thinking that hand would go was wrong, because she decided to move, which is her right, I guess, as my drawing. So now it's... But I do know that the hand is has to be wrapping around the leg. And I think, yeah, it's got, the fingers have to be moving over, and then the palm has to be beneath, like that. And so that should be really interesting. That should be really interesting, because of course you do have that great image in The Creature from the Black Lagoon of that fossilized hand reaching out of the rock. What a metaphor is that? I mean, that's just fantastic. You know, the fossilized, dried out fish creature from, you know, whatever age, I forget what they said it was, the Devonian or something age, reaching out from the rock to us, and we're reaching to it, and what that unlocks, which is just unbelievable. What is up, Christopher Sheriff? How are you doing, my friend? Greetings and salutations to all of you from a huge fan of the life and work of Fred Rogers. God bless him indeed. Were it possible, I would gladly live under the rule of King Friday. So would I. So would I. Yeah. Just, I can't even tell you the importance of Fred Rogers to me. His quotes are a continual source of inspiration, and as certainly as a young person watching his show, he just created that little space. It's funny, I know I think of this show as my version of Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. However, you know, that weird that may seem, which is inviting people into the place where you are and spending some quality time with them is the ultimate value, I think, that we have. And Fred had that amazing capacity to do that, not just in the neighborhood of make-believe, but just the idea of starting with that idea that we are neighbors, because we are, you know, and what's the neighborly thing to do. And, you know, he was something else. That guy really was something else. I watched his appearance before, I think it was the Senate committee, or it might have been a House committee, and he completely disarmed, funny enough, either a senator or a congressman. I think it was a senator from Rhode Island, and it was just amazing to watch somebody, and this always makes me laugh, but is when someone comes at you with insincerity really, really hard, and then they realize you're sincere, and they're like, I not only can I not figure out what to do with this, I don't want to beat this person down. It doesn't feel great. And Fred had that, yeah. It's like Mr. Rogers, but sometimes we see butts at 100%. 100%. Well, apparently Fred did too, because I know he had some kids. But he was so... You know, one of the people that... This is... You want to hear a really awesome and bizarre bit of Fred Rogers. Do you know one of the first people who got his start working for Fred Rogers and doing films like Fred Goes to the Dentist? He filmed this sort of on-location, pre-recorded Fred Rogers Goes to the Dentist. And he got his start on the Mr. Rogers Show, filmmaker, who's no longer with us, sadly, much like Fred. But you'd never guess. It was George Romero, the creator, writer, director of Night of the Living Dead, worked for Fred Rogers. Michael Keaton from the 1989 Batman worked for Mr. Rogers. He was a cast member on the show. I mean, Eddie Murphy, massive fan of Mr. Rogers. When Mr. Rogers visited him on set, he lost his mind when he was on SNL. He was like, "It's Mr. Rogers!" He, like, lost his mind. And that, to me, is quite the mark of a man, is his impact on people in that way. Just, he was like a human decency accelerant, if that makes sense. A human decency accelerant. And it's an impressive thing. It's an impressive feature of the man, to be sure. It's so funny because I want to check my reference sometimes, or my, you know, of the creature, and then I'll go, no, this mark is supposed to be here. I don't know where it's going, but it's supposed to be here. This is the shape. It's about the painting. It's not about copying something and counting scales. It's about the same attitude that Millicent Patrick probably had when she was sketching this character out, which is she was discovering it. And how do you discover something that's known, particularly with portraits? That's one of the hardest places, I think, for me to make something. It calls upon the most from me is when I'm working on a portrait, because you need that portrait to both look like the person and feel like it's alive and feel like the person. And so to me, I think portrait art and representational work really just calls upon a lot from you as a person. And great cartoonists can do that as well, to be clear, but there's something about it. Do you see what I mean? There's something about the way those forms are working right now that I like, Yeah, it makes me want to be more genuine, sincere, honest, and caring for others. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and that's another thing, too. I think when you're around, there's that quote that I keep around. I have no idea where it is right now. You'll have to forgive me. But there's this quote I keep around on a piece of foam core that is usually close at hand, but I don't know where it is now because I lose it all the time. It's like one of my great gifts is losing this thing. But it's the key is to keep. I think it's Epictetus who said this. The key is to keep company only with those who call forth your best. But it was something about. Jeez, it's driving me crazy now. Hang on a second, guys. You guys will find the quote before I find this paper, but I want to see if I can find it because it's driving me nuts. Got a copy of Moby Dick over here. Got so many things. This is going to drive me crazy. I think it's the key is to keep only company with people who call forth your best, who, it's going to kill me. But it's true. There is a kind of person and there's a kind of space that you put yourself in where you are, you're being reminded of that and you feel good to be around it. And it's not always as flashy as it was in Fred Rogers' case. It wasn't very flashy and very exciting, to the casual, passerby. But it's gold to those who know, and it has real staying power. You can't build something that's not true and have it last. It will fall apart. We see this quite often with artists and with creatives. It's like if you... first of all, it's exhausting to lie, I think, and it's exhausting to. I'm sure it's extremely exhausting to lie to yourself. It just seems to me it'd be the constant lie. But it's when you're around. Sometimes, what was it? I was talking to a friend of mine who was going through a tough time this year, and I talked to him about the idea of the ministry of presence and that whole idea of. Sometimes when you're going through a tough time, you don't need somebody to give you direct advice. Sometimes you do, but sometimes you need to just have a quiet place where you can sort of you can go to and you can know that the person is listening and engaged. And that's a very valuable thing for us as a species for listening. And I think Fred Rogers. There were moments I would watch him interact with people where the silence would have caused a lesser man to jump in with a thought or a summation of what was going on. But Fred would hold his tongue and give that extra second, and that's when gold would come out of somebody he was talking to. Something that maybe everyone sort of speaks before they get a chance to share that bit, and it's something of such value to them that they aren't going to put it out into the world if they're not 100% comfortable in that space, if there's enough silence there in the space. Fred would do that, and I think that's very much the case with artwork. I think there's such a thing as doing your artwork. Well, we talk about this with people. This is one of the biggest conversations that's often had in art. There's something, people talk a lot about artwork that's being done. This artwork needs to be faster, and it's not fast enough. But there's another aspect of artwork that is, and film and storytelling, where sometimes it goes too fast and there's no weight or meaning in it. You know, it's like sometimes it's just being cranked out for cranked out sake, and it's not my thing. One of my favorite segments of the show is the one where he interviews Margaret Hamilton to show kids that witch wasn't real. That was a brilliant episode, and that movie to this day scares the heck out of me. And she was by all accounts, isn't this the funniest bit of it? It's who would have thought? And see, again, didn't know I was going to be talking about Margaret Hamilton today, but that's the nature of this, because I know about Margaret Hamilton and that story. She was one of the loveliest people in real life, one of the most absolutely wonderful people in real life. And you hear people, when you hear people say, "Oh, I like that person," it's fine. But when you hear people like swear up and down, this person was one of the most incredibly nice people. You know who you hear that about a lot is Peter Cushing from the Hammer horror movies. Yeah, I was wondering about that. When do you pull the plug when it's finished? It's funny nowadays, and maybe this just comes with the time I've spent with it, doing this kind of stuff. But now I just know when something is ready to be done. I'll give you a good example. I think that for me, I've got to keep things somewhat open when I work, but I only have so much patience for myself is the best way I'd put it. I have a really solid balance where I won't allow myself to be knocked off course if I think that that's what rushing would do, but I have no tolerance for infinite open-ended things. It drives me crazy. When I like to do the dishes, I like the dishes to be done. When I clean the kitchen, I actually feel the most relaxed when I'm doing the dishes oftentimes. But when I'm doing the dishes, it's not just the dishes, it's the countertop. I want the kitchen to feel finished. And I also very much enjoy that process of doing it. I'm very present when I'm doing it because I think of the people that I'm doing it for. You know, I oftentimes when I'm doing the dishes, I will think of, particularly during the year, I will think of my wife waking up and going to her coffee maker, and I will picture how nice it will be for her to go to her coffee maker and have the area around it and the counters open for her to make her cup of coffee, as opposed to trying to find a corner of a dirty countertop. And I can't stand here's a little bit of my tism coming out. I can't stand when I don't do that. When I go to sleep and the kitchen's a mess, it really bothers me. Bothers the heck out of me. It's the same thing with how I decide whether a book is okay for me to ship. You can't get to the point to where you throw out every single copy of the book. You could find a problem with everything if you look long enough. You can make a problem if you handle something enough. But you've got to be productive. You can't be OCD about it, or things will never get to people, and then you might as well have not done it. And for me, it's the same thing with a painting. There are so many, an unfinished painting or an unfinished sketch, in rare exceptions, might as well not have been started in that sense, because or it should be called complete. That's another weird thing. I used to tell people, when you do, or my students when I was teaching, when you do a sketch and you decide you're done with the sketch, that's perfectly fine. But sign it. Always sign it. Always underline it. Yeah, she was a kindergarten teacher. Isn't that amazing? Before she was cast in the movie as the witch. Yeah, The Wizard of Oz. Well, let's talk about The Wizard of Oz for a second, which, as I've told you, absolutely terrifies me, because when I saw it when I was a kid, it scared the living heck out of me. But that's a movie. Then I believe they did a crazy upscale build out of it, and it was being shown at the Sphere, the gigantic Sphere. They did an Infinite Horizon Wizard of Oz. So it was like you were in the Wizard of Oz when you were watching the movie. I do not know, like, they were like AI was involved. I know what AI can do. AI was involved, but clearly it was directed because they wanted it to pull from the existing material in that way. But there was a lot of artistry in that, and I thought, this is insane. It's like, I can appreciate the genius of that film while still being terrified by it, you know. And I'm Catholic. I'm I was a lifelong Catholic and grew up Catholic, and so The Omen scares the heck out of me. It's a great movie, but that movie scares the living heck out of me. But Richard Donner, I think that was his first feature, the first time he filmed something in anamorphic, and that of course led us to Superman. But what a legend he is, and what a great movie, what great performances. Gregory Peck, man, could talk about that guy for a while too. What an actor. But do you see how those shapes are coming together? What's up, Christopher? How are you doing, man? Chris Bouchard in the house. It is great to see you, brother. Happy Sunday to you, man. Yeah, The Wizard of Oz is just a work of art, is the best way to put it, isn't it? It's a work of art. And again, there's this element. I'm sure it entered my mind when I was working on that scuba piece that's next to what I'm doing right now, which was just a part of a conversation we were having about artwork I did not know was going to be, something that was great. When I started it, I was going to work until it was good enough, but I didn't know it was going to be something that people reacted to. There's an element of Dorothy inside of the tornado. There's an element of being caught up in something in the wind, and I think it was the same thing with the piece I did for the Lucent. It was the same thing I did for the piece for Razor Fist. There's always this sort of swirling vortex of activity that's important to me in the work, and I like that. I'm sure that's not even a question why I like Art Nouveau. I love Art Nouveau for that very same reason, and let's see. I see how they're coming together. Do you often get taught something about life through your art pieces? Yes, definitely. What I would say is, man, life is constantly teaching me through everything. I certainly get taught a lot about life through doing the dishes too, though, and taking out the trash. Those things, everything is an experience for me where I'm learning something, watching movies, talking to my kids, and how they experience things. But yes, because anything you do that is against life will have consequences. That's the best way I could put it. If you make your artwork and your artwork isn't an avenue for you to learn about life, you can make the biggest work, you could make the most technically proficient work, and it will leave people cold. And my art has always been something that has been very subconscious to me, but or unconscious, like in terms of certain things. Like it's very physical. I'm sure I've mentioned this on streams before, but I do not hear I don't hear my own voice in my head. I don't have an internal monologue. So I spend a lot of time listening, and I spend a lot of time being fully present in the things that I'm doing. Here's a perfect example. People wonder how I'm able to talk and paint. It's because there are no words inside of my head that are involved in this process of painting. So ponder that for just a minute there. It's this is me talking right here. This is the conversation. Yes, yeah. I would not like to learn a lesson from certain tasks, work, art I've done. Yeah, it is a fascinating thing that way. But so I spend a lot of time listening to people, being aware of people. The same thing goes with pets or animals or nature. I oftentimes just kind of read things in a very interesting way. So when I'm working in this particular piece, the first thing it teaches me, and all these things teach me, is that you're responsible for showing up, for trying, for learning the skills. But if you try to force it, it will punish you. So there also has to be an element of surrender in the making. And that's something I've learned in a major way. I'm going to move that over just a little bit so I'm not covering up the painting here. But that's something I've learned in a major way, which is Nosfero is the fact that Nosfero has had 2 printings and that you guys have backed it, and thank you so much, is crazy. It's when I came into Comicsgate and everything was, it's, I don't know how to describe it, but I'm fairly certain there weren't any fully painted books being done at that point. I don't know how many there are now. It was such a, and I had never done a fully painted book. I'd only done art books. It was a preposterous thing to do. And in a lot of ways, my approach to it was, I think this is what I need to be doing. And this is a great opportunity for me to find out from the audience, from you guys. Do you guys want me to be doing this? Is this something I should be doing? There's a little bit of listening to the audience in that. And the same thing can go in some ways for Springball. But the story wants to write itself. I would never have gone back and done anything with Springball. Speaking of our friend Tiny Effort in the chat. I would have never come back and done anything with Springball if I hadn't... many people had suggested it. But the Springball decided it was time to write him. And when I finished working on Springball in the early 2000s, it was frustrating. And I remember thinking at the time when I did it, I put so much into this. It really got me. And even though I did several more, I was hired and sought out to do comic book jobs I couldn't say no to. But I thought, what was all this for? And it really was kind of a heartbreaking experience. And there's no way. I promised myself, I'm like, not only am I never going to return to Springball, but I'm done with comics. That's not how it works. We don't get to make those decisions. Clearly, we don't get to make those decisions. It's a strange sort of thing. Sometimes if you're supposed to be doing something, it will let you know. It will let you know. And, like, this is crazy to me. And so when, it was like my wife, her joke, I think, is probably, I only told you 1 million times, maybe you should go back and sing with Springball. It's a cool character. Give it another look. And I'm sure my buddy Rocky would agree with me on that. He would say he said a similar thing, and I knew, and it was not right. I was done, and I'm stubborn when I'm done with something. That's it. Just done with it. And it was like something opened up, something shifted that was bigger than me and bigger than all those experiences, in the sense of it was like the story unfolded and I knew what I was supposed to do with it. And every day I work on it, much like every day I pack up, copies of Nosfero, is another bit of that story and that Springball, the character, revealing itself. And it is crazy. I could think about that forever. I mean, to take you guys back in time to me, I'm a freshman in college, right? I'm at Rhode Island School of Design here, referenced in Call of Cthulhu, funny enough, here in Rhode Island. And I'm in my dorm, and I love comics more than anything. And I believe I recently had gotten Steve Ditko's Marvel Masterworks book, which I have kicking around here somewhere. I'm watching old school animation because I was very much into animation, and I'm thinking, why can't comic books... Comic books were in a very stuck period, and the industry was actually collapsing at that point, as I later learned. Why can't comics be better, or superheroes? Like, where's that return to superheroes, and that? How do we do it? I want to return to true comics, and it was not one. It wasn't the time, but everything I was doing during that time was really interesting. I look at that stuff and I think about that stuff because I don't have any of those sketchbooks anymore. Yep, I'm never going to work on Springball, so you were supposed to. That's exactly right. Looks like you were wrong. I was absolutely wrong. And it was almost like all of the work I had been doing that I thought was for nothing was preparing me to have the skill set and be ready. Because I did not have the skills when I was a freshman, and I didn't have the skills when I did the initial book to do the things I'm doing right now. I mean, to do Springball correctly has taken decades of... and how it needs to be done has taken decades of me learning a lot of different things. But I didn't know that because I was young, and I was, again, if I wasn't driven, I would never do anything. but I would get frustrated with my inability to figure things out and get things to where they were supposed to go. It's just one of those young people things we do. And now when I'm working on Springball, it seems so obvious. But the time between when I worked on Springball and all those feelings I used to have about it, they're gone. They just evaporated. I'm back with Springball. I'm same with Nosfero. Nosfero was in a lot of ways the easier, not in terms of technical execution. They're both really hard. But Springball was the one I was coming to a little bit fresher. And I always... Nosfero was the one I was coming to a lot fresher. Springball was the one that I had to kind of get rid of baggage with. It's like I often say on stream that it's better for you never to have been in the water and learn how to swim than it is for you to have had a bad swimming experience. A bad swimming experience is worse than no swimming experience at all. If you had a near drowning experience and you're trying to learn how to swim from that, it's a nightmare. And I had a lot of really great experiences with my painted books and crowdfunding them before I was in Comicsgate. And that was great. And of course, Comicsgate made it go supernova. But I hadn't done a painted comic, and I was kind of wading back into comics. But Springball was really, you know what it is? It's you can give a lot of credit to, of course, my brother Rocky, and Dan Lawless was a big champion. Dan, I know I often forget to mention you, brother. Speaking of bizarre coincidences, but it really was John. I have to say, it was really John Malin was the biggest part of that puzzle, because John, I have no fear that John is going to mince words. And I think John is oftentimes not appreciated for his nuance, to be clear. He's very thoughtful in his critique. People are so funny. They don't, sometimes people really struggle to read people from one aspect of them to another, and what's the idea behind it, and all that kind of thing. But I know from as an artist, when I'm talking to him, John, if he looks at something you're doing and he doesn't think it's of any value, he's going to let you know. And I showed John that book in a sense of when I wrapped up the Nosfero campaign, and I said, I self-published books in the 2000s. It was so unbelievably hard. Thank you for, making that crazy stand and launching, with your boy Zach, Jawbreakers, and doing all of that stuff. And thank you for supporting and helping to promote the things I do. And he looked at Springball when I sent it to him, was like, what the heck is this? He's like, you used to draw in a Todd McFarlane type style? And I said, yeah, actually, that was what I did the Starship Troopers stuff I did in. That's what I did the Flash Gordon story that I illustrated for Len Wein. I did it in that style. So, yeah, it just hadn't dawned on me he'd never seen it. And certainly my first professional job, Threshers, that Andy Smith did the cover for, and a young Shane Davis bought in a BP gas station. God, that's weird. And so gosh, I could think about that stuff all day. It's just crazy. And he goes, you should do something with this. And I guess it was also because I thought, I'm a big believer in that idea in its most basic sense. The customer is always right in matters of taste. It's a very good quote. The customer is always right in matters of taste. That's the important last part of it. And I thought, this is probably one of those moments where something is coming from the outside, and it's meant to be listened to. And I kind of just suddenly relaxed of letting go of control of it, and letting go of control of what everything was going to be. Yeah, Malin will sometimes use crude speech to share a deep thought. We just need to be open to being amused while we learn. Yeah, I mean, someone who taught with me once, they team taught a class with me. My brother Nick, actually. You guys know Nick. I bring him up all the time. He's the person where I write in all the special thanks to my books. To my big brother in Spanish is my brother Nick. Amazing artist in his own right. Brilliant guy. And he would blush if he heard me say that, but he's It's too bad. He's gonna have to deal with it. He's in his 60s now. He's gonna have to listen to compliments. But Nick said to me, when I teach with you, you say things to students about like their work and like how they need to fix it that are just like things that students normally would lose their minds if someone told them. But with you, they hear it and their work gets better. And I think that's what I think maybe people miss in John, which is it's hard to listen to, maybe, I don't know. But he's so invested. He doesn't give anything a little bit of it. Like, he doesn't half-ass it. That's just not how he's built. Timmy Mello, what's up? How are you doing? Speaking of my artist brothers, I hope you are having a wonderful Sunday, my friend. Great to see you. Yeah, and I think the one of the wildest little glimpses into John, for me anyway, is in the cover he did for Springball without even being asked. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's really one of the things I've learned about John that is very in common with me. I would spend time, you can always see this in people, but I would spend time doing things and thinking about ways I could help people with things, and really invest in it and really go full tilt with it. And there is no doubt in my mind that not only John launching Springball, but that cover he did for Springball, it's such a great piece, and it's so great to see him using color. But there's a lot of John in that. There's the discipline and there's the deep level of investment, and it's a similar thing I thought when I saw him being led out of C2E2 and how he handled himself with security, because that's an unnerving experience for anybody. But the principle behind it is something I spend a lot of time thinking about, because whenever I hear or see somebody kind of like making light or thinking about that kind of thing is staged, I'm like, well, then you go do it by yourself. Don't do it with a group of people. Go do something like that by yourself and see how you handle it. It's like, you have no idea. And the principle behind it was incredible too. So I hope one day we find it ridiculous what was going on at that convention. I really do. Really strange stuff. But that's to me where I sort of figure out people. And there's people who, reach out to me who knew me in childhood and or say things like that to me. Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, ask those security guards if they thought that was the case. Yeah, I mean, well, that it was just like, because a lot of times I think people try to interpret everything and the reasons and with the motivations why they do things. And I think that you have to have your wits about you, but spending too much time trying to guess people's motivations is not always a good idea, particularly if it's always the same motivation in your mind. Maybe that's something to look after. But it's, it was just one of those things to where I don't think anybody... When I was working on the Black Riding Hood cover for him, I still see that cover every now and again in my folders. Okay, that's a really good example. I thought that was going to be a train wreck of a piece I did not think was going to turn into something I liked that much. I thought that piece was going to be a train wreck because it was very hard to keep at bay my gratitude to John's help with Springball, but also how good I wanted it to be, and not let that get in the way of the artwork. Really tough. Oh gosh, speaking of a piece that's like that, yes, exactly. Yeah, that's 100% true, Cranberry. 100% true. The CYBERFROG trading card I did for Ethan was a perfect example of that too. The obstacle there was not to freeze. Was not to freeze and not to get, oh my gosh, a lot of people are going to see this. And oh man. Yeah, that's really tricky. That's really tricky stuff. Man, that's going to be really cool. You can't really see it yet as much, but when this figure comes together, I can already see how, and I'll actually, it's fine. I can start to do it. I forget we're here painting, aren't we? Painting and talking. That's the fun part of this. I hope you guys are having a wonderful Sunday. Make sure you hit the like if you have not hit the like yet. It does help. It does make things a lot easier and better. for us doing this work. But let me see if I can show you what I mean here, if I may here. Like right in here, there's an arc that's going to happen between her rib cage, the underside of her arm, and her hips, that also ties in beautifully to the form of the creature. It's a really kind of natural shape that wants to be there. You see what I mean? And that's the stuff that sort of kind of starts to reveal itself when you are exploring, when you're listening to the paper, you're listening to the paint. Because you got to learn a bunch of things, and it's not like you just get out a blank sheet of paper with no study and are going to crank something out like this. But it's just that, do you guys see what I mean? Like how that's starting to work? Yes, this is the creature from the Black Lagoon. And what I love about the design process on it was in the script, it was described as he had a head, and the gills and the head conjured up ideas of a knight of old. And I remember when I learned that oh my gosh, hey, I'm chiropractor wife Nikki. There you go. Well, it's great to see you, my friend. Yeah, there you have it. Chiropractic. I watch a guy who does that work. What's up, Julie Pascal? How are you doing? Hello, Shant. I always miss your streams, but I think of you fairly often. Oh, thank you, Julie. Speaking of people, that's so funny. It is great to see you, Julie. I was just thinking of the head sketch I did for you of Laurel. Am I correct? I did a head sketch of Laurel for you from Nosfero. I think you are one of the you and someone who had me do a sketch of oh my gosh, how am I blanking on his name? That now I must be tired. When you forget your own character's name, you have got to be exhausted. No, not Greylock. Phantomas. How did I forget that? Are the only two people. Yes, I was right, Julie. Thank you so much, by the way, for that. Yeah, this is a head sketch, Julie, I'm working on. Hey, Nikki, and welcome. Yeah, welcome, Nikki. Great to see you. That is, it's so great to see you. So, yeah, so when I was working on that piece, Laurel is very tough to paint, and I was so excited that somebody has a painting of that character, because it's I love painting those characters, but there's not a lot of loose copies or images of artwork, because I don't sell the Nosfero pages. Because certainly at this point I need to reference them constantly to remember what everything looks like and how I painted it. But it's so great to see you, Julie. I hope you are well. It's wonderful to see you. What's up, Mr. Monkey Boy 1969? Great to see you guys, and welcome. And I hope you're having a wonderful Sunday, guys. Make sure you hit that like, because boy, I tell you, I've been getting throttled by YouTube lately. But you know, it's on the list of things. Not the worst thing in the world, but just something I always am trying to stay ahead of. But but that was described in the script as being, you know, the character looking like a knight of old. And what was cool about that is if you look at Millicent Patrick's design, it looks like one of those knight helmets that you see, where it swoops out like that, and then it comes back down, and then they look out through this little area here. Do you guys know what I mean? Knight, that sort of knight helmet sort of thing. And excuse me. And it's really cool. And once I saw that, I could not unsee it. I just could not unsee it. Such a wild thing. Such a wild thing. And it just makes total sense as being the where that strong silhouette of the character resides is in that particular look. You know, it's that particular look. Then I'm just going to put a little shadow there so I can build some highlights off of it. There we go. There we are. So then when I build the lip out, that's going to be fun. But, you know, putting this stuff together and living in the world of all these incredible, you know, creature creators and creature designers, you know, it's so fun, man. They're so brilliant with what they did and the work they created. a really special time in the history of creating things for movies and film and television. Just gotta love it. There we are. Now we're just gonna bring that around. Bring that around. Because I can put some really nice highlights in there, but it's good for me to have a ground that I'm working off of when I'm putting it together. I mean, this is a breathtaking creature design. I know it's obviously the name of it is the creature, but so many people who work in the special effects industry will talk about it as the greatest creature design of all time. And I who am I to argue? The greatest monster design of all time is undoubtedly Jack Pierce's Frankenstein design. To me, it's unmatched. It's the greatest makeup job ever done. But as far as creature suits go, the creature from the Black Lagoon has got to be number one, hands down. It's just a great design. After that, I think it's the design of the alien by H.R. Geiger and or Giger, however I think he pronounces it. It's a German name, but I believe he's a Swede, or he was a Swede, God rest him, and he pronounces it that way. But yeah, just those are great character designs. Really nicely done. And she drew and Chris Mueller sculpted it. There we go. Look at that coming together. That's going to be fun. Yeah, hang in there, Mr. Monkey Boy 1969. The heat is going to be brutal nationwide this week. Yes, we just heard that here. We just heard, yeah, sweaty, hot, melting. Yes, it is apparently bad. It is apparently really bad. We're going to get into the 90s up here, apparently. I don't know how those folks in UK are going to handle it, because they can't handle 80 degrees, apparently. Which I didn't know about that. I knew that it felt hot when I was over there, but I didn't realize that they were going to handle American heat so badly. It goes to show you that we can actually handle a lot more heat than the average bear. Less and less as I get older and spend more time up here in the Northeast, I can tell you that. You lose your heat resistance the more you're up here. Used to be able to walk around in 100-degree heat. Not that it's good for me at all. I mean, I fade fast. My daughter and I are both very prone to heat stroke for whatever reason, which is one of the great ironies of growing up in the South. There we go. Now he's starting to come together and get that kind of aggression, which I got to put together. No AC to speak of in any part of Europe. Yeah, when we would visit my family in Linz, Austria, that fourth of the family, that was... The temperatures were always pretty good there, so it wasn't as bad. But man... I remember the UK, the UK is where I felt the most just hot, exhausted. It was just it was rough, really rough. Yeah, a fan of The Blob too. The Blob is great. That is a great movie for sure. Yeah, it's gonna be brutal. Yeah, my favorite Universal monster is him or the Invisible Man. The Invisible Man was much like Jekyll and Hyde and the Friedrich March Jekyll and Hyde. Is one of those special effects works of genius. I mean, every time I watch Friedrich March as Jekyll and Hyde in that, he is incredible. Even though, when you read the book, it's such a different the story and the plot of it is, and the way that the character functions is, it's just one guy, and it's him using the disguise of this other figure to basically live how he wants to live with anonymity, but the urge to do so is coming from him. And so that's, the idea of, it's more the idea of the form gradually beginning to take him over and that he won't be able to hide from his crime. That is his concern, not that another entity is taking control of him. It's another aspect of his psyche, which is what gives it's how on earth did Robert Louis Stevenson write both The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Hyde and Treasure Island? You want to talk about a, body of work that's astounding. There you go. I mean, just incredible. Treasure Island, that was a fun, the Disney RKO Treasure Island is very... has a lot of references to the N.C. Wyeth illustrations of Treasure Island, which are beautiful and well worth a look if you've never seen it. It's where we got our famous pirate accent, the "Arr, matey." and I forget where in Britain that actor was from who played Silver, but he just laid the law down for the pirate. He was like, this is this is what a pirate is. And of course was played with relish by Jeffrey Rush in Pirates of the Caribbean. He 100% did the talking like a pirate thing proud in that movie, that's for sure. That was so great. I was watching allow me to drift into Michael Bolton territory really quickly. Oh, I'm Chris, wife Nikki Anderson. There you go. Oh, hey, it's great to meet you, Chris. I'm sorry, great to meet you, Nikki. That's my reading. Chris's wife, Nikki Anderson. It's great to meet you. So the thing that gets me about that is I was watching. Have you seen those Pirates of the Caribbean movies? I was just watching them. This is a tale of Captain Jack Sparrow. You got to do it every now and again. But I was watching it and I was just blown away by the script and the ad-libs and how great the acting was in it. Just fantastic. And one of my favorite lines is when she goes, I request parley. I request the cessation of hostilities against Port Royal and Utah. And he goes, there are some awfully big words in there, ma'am. We're not but simple pirates. And then he goes, I'm disinclined to acquiesce to your request. That means no. It's such a great... The performances and the acting. And if you haven't watched those movies in a while, look, I don't know how old I was when those came out, but you look back at those movies and you see Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley. They are babies in that movie. Heck, even Johnny Depp is a baby in those movies. I mean, what was he, like 35 when he started those? Someone get me Johnny Depp's age when he started the Pirates movie, but I think it was 35 or something. I remember thinking he was, because he was a popular actor, heartthrob for the girls, the generation that I grew up in. But I was shocked how young he was in that. Yeah. Yes, Snorting Mountains of Cocaine. Yes, they are. Yeah, they're great movies. Yeah. Let me see here. I think a lot of modern people refer to things from the past and look at old art of in a cheesy way, but I think they had often a much clearer understanding of the world and the facts. Yes, you're so right about that, because there are there's this when people get embarrassed about expressing certain kinds of romantic notions, I don't think cynicism or nihilism, as I often say, are a sign of wisdom, intelligence, or a greater understanding of things. They're just not. I think that they're just as romantic and just as protective and safe as being naively optimistic. And I think the idea that everything in the world is awful is a romantic belief, because it means you don't have to, worry about disappointment as much as blinding yourself to everything you don't like to see in the world that makes you uncomfortable. And it's always for the individual to decide, which is why I'm not a huge fan of trying to force people's eyes open through politics or any of that other stuff. I'm a big believer in, live the thing you want to be, set the example. But it's, as we say in the South, you catch more flies with honey. But this is really interesting how this is coming together. Taking a moment to try to figure out what the painting is trying to tell me. What's up, Glass Machine? It is great to see you. 39 in Pirates of the Caribbean. Wow, that's a trip. He wasn't even 40 yet. Isn't that wild? Cynicism and nihilism are sophomoric, literally the mind set of sophomores at Berkeley. Yes, well, very true. Yeah, I've taught college, and I'd say it seems like it goes almost all the way up at this point. But yes, you're absolutely right. Yeah, cynicism is oftentimes a warm blanket, as is nihilism, and it's why the motto of this show, and I've emphasized it, which is almost like a bare knuckle kind of optimism, but give nihilism no quarter nor accept any. And it's people are always shocked that I read H.P. Lovecraft's work, because they think of it as being very nihilistic and very dark and very I don't know what the word is I'm looking for, but he was not cynical in how he wrote it. There's a lot of his humanity that in those books that speak to his. He was first of all, he was obsessed with the romantic classical writing, but there are things he wrote that are. Let me see do I have Lovecraft where I can get to him? I don't know if I can. I don't think I have him here. I thought I had him here, but you never know. That'd be funny if Lovecraft just popped out from nowhere. That would be hilarious. But I did think I had Lovecraft somewhere around here, but I may not. That might be where we are. But he said something at the start of the Call of Cthulhu. Let me see if I can find it really quickly, guys. I apologize for the dead air, but we've got 50 people watching. Thank you, guys. Please hit that like if you have not yet. It's always appreciated. So let me see if I can find this. I can't believe I didn't quote this in any of my books yet. Here it is. Here's an H.P. Lovecraft quote. "The most merciful thing in the world, I think, is the inability of the human mind to correlate all its contents. We live on a placid island of ignorance in the midst of black seas of infinity, and it was not meant that we should voyage far. The sciences, each straining in its own direction, have hitherto, I can't stand when my reading lets me down, have hitherto harmed us little. But someday, the piecing together of disassociated knowledge will open up such terrifying vistas of reality, and of our frightful position therein, that we should either go mad from the revelation, or flee from the light into the peace and safety of a new dark age." And that is very much both written with romance, but is a beautiful statement of what happens when someone who is nihilistic or pessimistic sees that stuff. They run into the darkness and into the cave. Wisdom comes through pain and experience. You can't get there without going through it. You're absolutely right. Absolutely right. Is he talking about social media? This is the scary part. We were, Mrs. Ingetti was recently reading the Screw Tape Letters. And she was so shocked by how much the Screw Tape Letters and what C.S. Lewis was talking about then, when he wrote the Screw Tape Letters. If someone wants to get me the year in the chat, it would be appreciated. I can't remember the exact year he wrote that. Spoke exactly to what we're experiencing now. And C.S. Lewis is absolutely a genius. Either that or Looking for Mercy from God. That is the implied, in many ways, certainly was true with H.P. Lovecraft's views. That was where he went with it. But there's something in there in the strategy of the Screw Tape Letters which essentially breaks down and speaks directly to social media without intending to, because that's what wisdom does, and that's what gives things a staying power. And so much wisdom in books. Oh my gosh, read if you have not yet, if you have not in a while, and frankly, if you have not yet, listen to the audio book, because why wouldn't you want to listen to unless you're a brilliant reader, then read it, by God, because I know you guys prefer it, who are brilliant readers. But listen to the Christopher Lee audio book. Christopher Lee, what a voice. And he does voices in his audiobooks, which a lot of people may not know, but he's brilliant at doing various accents and voices when he does an audiobook. But read the Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It is social media anonymity to do the things that you would do if there were no consequences, and the inevitability of it affecting you in the real world, which is to say, in terms of when you change how you behave in one location, it starts to bleed into the other location, regardless of whether you have been caught. The catching will happen. It just does, unfortunately, when you take it to its logical conclusion, or fortunately, I should say, when you take it to its logical conclusion. But man, that book is one of the most incredibly applicable to social media in the world. I mean, I wish I could, I knew the book well enough, and I don't, to get right to the part that would, sum it up. But it's crazy how his testimony at the end of what has happened to him is bizarre. It's so, oh gosh, it's such a good book, guys. It's such a great book. It is. I keep looking at this book and just being amazed by it all the time. Oh gosh, it's so good. This guy, man. We are so fortunate when it comes to books. It's because of Project Gutenberg and because of all of the different public domain works that are easily accessible online. You can get stuck into the classics, whether by audiobook or by reading it yourself, a PDF of it, so much with so much more ease than you used to be able to previously. And man, do not ever let yourself miss an opportunity, even if it's as you're just dozing off. I'll let you in on some of my secrets that I have not previously mentioned on stream, but here's a little secret. Shh, don't tell anybody. Yes, amen, amen, amen. Oh, 1941 it looks like. I thought it was a ways back. That's wild. This is one of my great secrets. I don't think it's wouldn't suggest it for everyone, but this is my sleep headphones that I wear, and I fall asleep listening to audiobooks of the classics. I used to wear headphones, like actual big physical headphones, to listen to audiobooks, and I found that in tossing and turning, one, I broke them, and also they hurt. And it is so great to fall asleep to the classics. The crazy thing about Jekyll and Hyde, indeed, today is that it's becoming commentary on the duality of human behavior and nature. We see plenty of it in the real world to the extreme. Yes, we do. We absolutely do. We're seeing this stuff all the time, and not to talk about the sort of it is what it is, the grotesqueries of things, but a buddy of mine frequented and has made videos of a museum in San Francisco of cartoon art, and we shan't, to mispronounce my name, we shan't go into that here, but of a person who was up to all kinds of just despicable things, or who was up to at least one we believe we know of, the police believe they know of, and as do his party guests. And I remember thinking to myself when I was reading that, as I was listening to at the moment I was stuck in Jekyll and Hyde, and I said, this is Jekyll and Hyde. It's a perfect example. Simply Green, hello. Been lurking, saved this one for you, Shanth. Okay, I will check it out. Thank you, sir. I will absolutely check that out. Excellent. And I just thought I thought at what point, allegedly, yes, exactly. Allegedly. Well, thankfully, I haven't mentioned a name, nor will I. But I saw that, and I thought there's so many instances of this, and it's because it's not so much the location where you're living life, it's the percentage of it. And you watch certain things and you see certain things, and these are of course always people trying to exert will and all of that kind of stuff on the internet behind masks of righteousness, to paraphrase the script for Tim Burton's Sleepy Hollow. But it is strange. I mean, whether I'm looking at the Salem witch trials or I'm looking at it is a strange case indeed. Whether I'm looking at Sleepy Hollow or I'm looking at Jekyll and Hyde, or I'm looking at any of these things, humanity's adventures and accomplishments and humanity's foibles seem to be what's the word I'm looking for here? Impossible to remove from the human condition, and they need to be, the wisdom and the consequences of these things need to be learned over and over and over and over again. And if you attempt to I don't know what the word I'm looking for is here, but if you think that we are so evolved that other people's wisdom and earned mastery or earned wisdom is something we can read, and in reading it alone possess it, so that we've figured out the human condition, we've figured out the interplay of the sexes, we've figured out parenting. I was once parented, so I've got parenting figured out. Whatever it is that or I did stay in a Holiday Inn Express. But I've have thoughts on movies and how this movie could be improved, and so I can of course make a movie. We see that happen all the time. It really is something that we benefit from greatly. Oh, that's fun. Whatever that is, we benefit. Whatever that is, we benefit greatly from just the experience of doing things and learning. What is it? Experience is what you get when you didn't get what you were trying for, as the old Southernism goes. Very true. And but you can do is you can learn through reading books with excellent models of life and the human experience. You can learn how to spot wisdom when it presents itself. So I wouldn't say that books are a huge part of that. Books are a huge part of that wisdom, and we ignore the wise books and the classics and Shakespeare and obviously the Greeks at our own peril. Oh, this is going to be cool. You never know where they're going to go. I feel sometimes like I'm watching it be painted. It's really weird how that works. Oh yeah, there's something strong happening there. Everybody's saying, hey, Cran, 100%. Yeah, everybody thinks they can farm if the farmers were... yes, exactly. If the farmers were... if the farmers with wrong thought disappear. Yes, exactly. Well, we certainly learned that. They certainly learned that in the Soviet Union, and they certainly learned that under Stalin, right, in the Ukraine. But that's, the famine that came about from people saying, why do these farmers have these farms? Not a great move, right, as it goes. And the same thing goes with why should this artist, whether it's a creator of a thing, whether it's George Lucas or J.K. Rowling or C.S. Lewis or name your favorite author, Frank Herbert, J.R.R. Tolkien. Why should they dictate what this place is that they've created? And then you see what happens when it gets into lesser hands. You see it doesn't go so well. And I think a healthy amount of admiring for excellence is not even healthy. If you can't admire excellence when you see it, and if you don't want to be a part of it and support it, you're missing out. You're missing out tremendously. I'm always love to see people doing things that are incredible, and seeing people. Some of the things that are incredible are oftentimes patience. Sometimes I'm blown away by people's patience when they're caring for animals or caring for patients. Those things, people who work in nursing, things like that are just incredible. Just that combination of intelligence and empathy and all of that is a beautiful thing I have frequently marveled at. And I would encourage, it's just a better way to live, frankly. It's just a better way to be. What is up, Benjamin Soto? How are you doing? That is a nice looking, the creature. Thank you so much. It's my favorite Universal monster. Love the creature. In fact, he adorns my desk right there. I have a bust of the creature on my desk, and I even have the NECA figure of the creature, which I just grabbed for reference over here. What a great figure, and what a great design by Millicent Patrick and sculpted by Chris Mueller. Just incredible artists back in the day. Equity, literature, and art. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing to be gained from it. I feel that very much. Yeah, you laugh, but I definitely feel that very much. And we've also seen what happens when properties land in capable hands, willing to respect the source material, like Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy. That's a perfect example. And Peter Jackson, first of all, I've said it on stream before, and so let's see who can remember it and guess it. As the Lord of the Rings films are probably going to stand as the best film adaptation of those works, and maybe one of the finest film adaptations of all time. There's no getting around it. I don't know if I would put them... Ooh, that's tough. I don't know if I would put them on par with Dr. Zhivago, but they're in the mix. They're definitely in the mix. But for me, Peter Jackson's true masterpiece, what I think of Peter Jackson's true masterpiece and the finest work of his is not one most people think of, but I want to see if you guys can guess. I've said it on stream a few times before, is my favorite Peter Jackson film and what I consider to be his masterpiece, and an incredible contribution to humanity. Let's see if anybody can get that in the chat. Let me know. This is when the small brush really is something that I get to play with a little bit here. You want to use the bigger brushes for the majority of it, but when you get into something like the creature, particularly with a head sketch for a backer, I really want them to experience layers of the painting when they see it in person. And that really is what's going to happen there. Let's see. And what medium are you painting? Watercolor. It's opaque watercolor, so it's opaque watercolor with a little bit of gouache. Has anybody got my Peter Jackson film yet? Let's see if you guys get it. Let's see if you guys get it. And what medium gouache? Yep, you got it. Cranberry Landers knows. They Shall Not Grow Old is one of the most incredible works of human ingenuity and craft ever put on the screen. It just going into the research and the work that was done in that film, it makes me feel privileged to not only have seen it, but to have been able to share the planet with Mr. Jackson for any period of time. That movie, it put you there. It put you in that time, in that place, in a war that, in many cases, because of World War II, has been somewhat forgotten, which is that of the Great War, or World War I, as it came to be known. What an incredible amount of beautiful research and sound and color research. It is a masterpiece of human endeavor. Just incredible. And to think of it that way, to fully understand the genius at work in his adaptation of The Lord of the Rings, you should watch the making of They Shall Not Grow Old, and you'll understand what a fanatical researcher he is, and how important research and craft is to his work. And his works, on occasion, may be more or less successful in their dramatic telling, but they are seldom at a loss in terms of their craftsmanship, from my experience. Just outstanding craftsmanship in the work of Peter Jackson. Just really brilliant stuff. See. There we go. Oh, that's going to be fun. Yeah, what I always want to do is I want to get a nice mixture of letting there be some really dark warms in the shadows, and then mixing that with both cools and lights in there as well. Because there's something about translucent subject matter and the way it handles light that's different than the way that flesh tone and it handles light when light passes through it. Because the color that's represented in shadow is a cooler color because that's what it's passing through. But then once it gets to the point to where it's somewhat way more translucent, then you're going to get that kind of bizarre color interplay that I think is so great. Yes, yeah, it's something special. And the fallout of World War I was earth-shaking, especially in Eastern Europe. Couldn't say it better. You're absolutely right, Timmy. You're absolutely right. It's a very... There's so much in that, particularly when you think about the fact, and this is the other aspect of it, when you think of the fact that both C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien served in World War I. That adds another layer into it. You know, what is up, Past Master Dan? How are you doing, my friend? It is great to see you. I hope you are well, brother. I almost didn't recognize you from the new pic. I was like, who is that? Who dat? It's great to see you, brother. How are you doing on this fine Sunday? I hope you're having a good one. Yeah, I mean, boy, talk about, there's several levels to that. I mean, when you watch those young men, you know, slogging through the mud of trench warfare, and then you see and you think about C.S. Lewis doing the same, it definitely informs the way you I don't want to say it has to be all biography, because I don't think that that's always necessary. But it does inform how you understand them as men, having had that experience. It's clearly true that facing adversity, and certainly this has been my experience with artists in my own life, experiencing adversity is seldom antithetical to being an artist. It's something that if you come through the other side of it, you just write differently. I'm always surprised when I write something that someone thinks of as being rather, wow, that's really intense, or that's raw, that to me is just, it's just a thing that happens. And I don't mean in the sense of, oh, that scene is brutal or whatever else. It's just when you've spent time around, certain things, like the nature of evil, or the nature of goodness and things like that in very difficult situations, you just have a different way of writing it, and you appreciate things differently, and I certainly do. I've seen some of the most, I know I say this a lot, but some of the most amazing people that you ever see are people, and nurses in particular, working in emergency rooms. I know I've said this on so many streams. I know that Tammy is a retired nurse, and she's obviously had some thoughts on this. Longtime channel member Tammy, if you're catching this later, hello. Because you're dealing with people who have seen everything that can happen to a person and everything a person can do to another person. And yet you find those nurses in many cases who will still say, do you need another pillow? And really be mindful of those creature comforts. And those nurses who have the capacity to not let those experiences degrade their appreciation for the human condition, or become cynical. And I know that's not all, but that's many. Gila Monster, there you go. I love it. Let's see, chillin'. Yes, indeed. Yeah, what's weird, because I get used to your profile pics. I was just thinking whenever you guys change your profile pics, when Timmy Mello comes in and I see his profile pic, I instantly know it's him. And when you guys change them, I don't know what to make of it. You know? Yeah, we're living in the shadow of World War I and Jerusalem in 0 AD-ish, yeah. Once I had witnessed evil, I was far more selective about how I use the word yes. That must be one of Corey, the great quotes of the stream right there, is that you will not write about it the same way if you've ever experienced it. And when someone says to me, what's my it's a great photo to troll with, my friend. You do what you gotta do, Paz Master Dan, without question. This is the thing I would say that is what I am a very tough sell when it comes to people writing about things like evil in fiction. I find it very, very difficult. My highest compliment for H.P. Lovecraft is when H.P. Lovecraft writes about evil and darkness and the unknown and the scariness, I read his stuff and I go, you get it. There are very few authors I could say that about. Some people romanticize it. Some people see it as outside of the human experience, and they just approach it in different ways. And what is really interesting in some of H.P. Lovecraft's work, particularly I think of the Dunwich Horror, is he shows people who face, a cosmic evil as a matter of almost civic duty, and they look at it and they go, I'm going to face this evil. I'd rather not. It's a bit horrifying. It's keeping me up at night. But I'm going to that's what's so great about it. That's why I love the drawing, man. I love it. But it's they're like, we're going to face this thing, and it's terrifying, and we have the metal to deal with it, and we also have the knowledge. And the knowledge base is like the very first thing is, it's like, once Professor Armitage does the research to learn about the evil that's against them, his first thought that he keeps repeating is, but what to do about it? But what in God's name can we do about it? And then he does more research, and then he has there's some great lines of heroism in Lovecraft, and one of them is where he sets down to people, he goes, look, you've got a bad situation happening here, people of Dunwich, and it's a nasty business, and it's not going to be easy to face, but I've got the materials and the special materials I need to reveal this creature and defeat it, but now's the time for courage, and we need to go out there. Who's with me? And it is such a great adventure. It's as great of an adventure story in so many ways as the Shadow over Innsmouth is an escape story, like a great escape kind of film. Like he's trying to escape this town, and it's a nightmare, and ultimately you could argue whether if he does literally, does he figuratively, but it's such great stuff amidst all of the kind of creepy lurking evil there. But it's Lovecraft knew, man. Lovecraft really knew what he was doing when he wrote. I mean, he was writing, as much experience as he might have had, he was writing like a child prodigy. He was too young to have he died. How old was Lovecraft? He died, I think, at 46, if I'm not mistaken, or 40. Let me think now. How old am I? These are the questions that we ask very often. My friend Nick is fond of saying, when that artist was my age, he had been dead 20 years. It's like, he loves to point that out. But I don't know. Yeah, Dunwich is great. Yeah, once the professor, and thank you, Benjamin Soto, for that. Once the professor has the knowledge, he assumes the responsibility. Beautifully put. Beautifully put, Benjamin Soto. I couldn't have said it. That's brilliantly summed up. Once the professor has the knowledge, he assumes the responsibility to do something about it. And isn't that the charge that we're all given? Once you have 46, thank you, Past Master Dan. I knew you'd be quick on the research on that. Yeah, he was 46 years old. So when I finished writing Nosfero and got that book completed and delivered it to his final resting place, the first copy of Nosfero went to H.P. Lovecraft. That's how it had to be. I was the age he was when he had died. He'd passed on. So everything in his work, his tremendous impact on culture, he had already had when I finished Nosfero. You could do that with so many people of just incredible talent, God-given talent, work ethic. You put all that stuff together. And it is really humbling, and it is a miracle that we get to benefit from their wisdom in a way that they don't. Yeah, Lovecraft was really young when he died, much like Robert E. Howard, indeed, who died in horrible grief. Yeah, he was very troubled. And look at the pantheon he created for both men, funny enough, in their genres, which is, what was so funny is, and I don't know where I have the book. Seriously, if you took a drink every time I said that on a stream, you wouldn't survive, would you? I was reading the introduction to the collected Solomon Kane, and it was this absolutely lovely, poetic, lyrical introduction to the works and to Robert E. Howard himself. And then I got to the end of it, and I realized it was written by H.P. Lovecraft. It was. And I went, well, of course, that's why it was well written. But really, yeah, Howard never saw the extent of his success. I would say Lovecraft certainly didn't either. He saw a little bit more of it than Howard did, but nowhere near. I mean, he would have been mind blown by his influence and his impact. But yes, it's true. Yeah, it really makes me feel don't let it take you there. Unaccomplished, that we're much more productive. Well, here's the thing. There's no crime in this is the thing I always tell myself, and I would say to anyone. It's not something I just say for myself. The crime is not in matching greatness with somebody who is truly great and doing these incredible things. I think the crime is not basking sort of in the warm glow of their brilliance, if you are so inclined. I mean, I'll never write anything like Robert Louis Stevenson or Bram Stoker or Mary Shelley or H.P. Lovecraft or C.S. Lewis, but man, oh no, and I get what you mean by the productivity, but to me, I always say I'm learning in my late 40s and soon to be early 50s. That the only time I really have wasted in many ways is the time I've wasted in not reading their stuff sooner. So I am truly indulging in it now. It is wonderful to indulge in literature because, like a lot of people with dyslexia, I had the bad first swimming experience. I had the bad first reading experience. And now that I'm not stressed out about how fast I'm reading, what I'm reading, and whether there's going to be a quiz, I find reading, shockingly, is far more enjoyable. When you get to pick what you want to read and see what you like. Like, I don't drink and I don't care for drinking. I don't have a problem that other people do drink. But the thing for me is I just don't like to drink, so I don't. And there's something great in that. And then what you do is you start opening the door to other things that you enjoy the taste of or the sensation of, neither of which I have with alcohol. Bless people for trying. Like, they think I drew a line in the sand about it at some point. It's just not my thing. And Lord knows I'd rather drink soda that would probably, remove your teeth and any sensation of taste, but there we are. That's my particular vice, is high fructose corn syrup and cane sugar, but there we go. Look at that. It's wild. It's wild to watch a painting emerge like that for me. I'm always fascinated. It is wild. Shant, I saw, excuse me, that there are these screens you can put on your monitors, which apparently help with dyslexia. Is that so? That would be really interesting to explore. Yeah, it is the thing I admire most in other people. Is the people like my wife and like my best friend Nick, of course, who just devour books and read copious amounts of books and are transported and see pictures in their head when they read. I have to stop reading to see pictures in my head, and maybe this is tied to the not having an internal monologue thing, but I can only read in my head as fast as I read aloud. I don't code it into the pictures, so I'm not deciphering it. I'm actually hearing the words in my head, and that's the only way I can read. But it never becomes... it never translates. It has to go through speech in order for me to process it. Which is exactly the opposite of pictures. Pictures, there's absolutely no thought. The blank page starts painting itself almost immediately, and but I'm utterly at a great disadvantage when it comes, excuse me, to reading. Tremendous disadvantage. So I admire people who have that ability. I mean, again, I spend a lot more time, excuse me, admiring people who have abilities I don't, which I guess is the nature of these things. Mio tastes very strongly sugarly, but has none. Yeah, there you go. Shout out, I saw these screens. Yes, indeed. Yeah, I have that. You can train it to read, but it without speech. But I've done this exercise, but I prefer hearing the words. Yeah, I do. I love being transported by the books and doing the illustrations. So, guys, we're at 2 hours, believe it or not. 2 hours. Time flies when I'm with you guys, and I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much for being here for Comics and Curios Inside the Studio. I know it was a lot more painting today, but that's kind of where I was. That's kind of where I was today. And maybe there'll be more books when I do the horror of painting. I'm hoping to do an episode this week because I have been falling behind with streams, but it's always that way when family are home. I'm always fascinated by them and want to see them and to that kind of thing. So, if I may, from the heart of Lovecraft Country and the birthplace of American religious liberty, my name is Shanthan Jetty. This is Shanthan Jetty Art. Speak easy, stay gold, keep the faith, and peace be with you guys on this fine Sunday. Give Nihilism no quarter. Thank you so much for being here. Oh, how do you have a book on crowdfunding? Well, here's the interesting thing about that, and I must answer this, Julie, because it's a great question. I hear the characters speaking when I look at the artwork and the book. So what I'm doing 9 times out of 10 is I'm writing down what the characters are saying. I've always been that way with pictures. And sometimes I hear the characters talking as I'm painting. I know what's happening in their head. So I actually made a joke with my wife because I started working on a novel, which I work on off and on for my own interest, is I said to her, it's easier for me to write fiction than it is for me to read fiction. It's such a strange thing. I don't know how to describe it. Yes, well, I'm so glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here. Mechanoid, it's great to see you as well, my friend. Great painting, Shanth. Enjoyed the process and just listening. My pleasure, my friend, and love seeing that work of art and love seeing the faces in the chat, recognizing you guys. You do have a book currently on crowdfunding. Yes, I do. Springball is absolutely funding right now. So, you've been out of touch. Yes. So I'm working on Springball right now, and this is funny. I was mentioning this before. I couldn't begin to start working on that book again until I heard the characters' voices. I tried to force it, and it just didn't work. But yeah, when I'm working on Nosfero, the moments when the characters start talking, this is the second printing, which is going to be shipping out very soon once everybody has enough time to update their addresses. The moments between these characters and their conversations, I just know what they're saying, and it's the same thing with when I found the voices of Molly, Springball, Drook. My favorite line from Springball, and it was like the character said it, was he goes, it's not that I don't have any emotions, it's that I just have one facial expression. And it just made me laugh because in that instance, it was Springball who doesn't have a secret identity. His face is what you see his costume as. And it just made me crack up, and it was so what he would say. And that is the fascinating thing about it. So thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate all of you. Julie, don't be a stranger. It's great to see you, and I hope you're enjoying that painting. It was an honor and a privilege to paint it for you guys who back at the head sketch tier, and I love packing these books up. Take care, Timmy Mello. Take care, Simply Green. Buenas noches, Cranberry Langers. It is great to see you, my friend. Thank you, Timmy Mello. Much appreciated. Great stream, and be safe on this Sunday. You too, brother. It is great to have you here. Everyone try and stay cool, though, out throughout the week. 100% yes, guys. Stay cool. Get to air conditioning when you can. I am very susceptible to heat stroke, so and so is my daughter, unfortunately. She got that gene from me, so be careful, stay hydrated, and don't stay out in it too long if you have a choice and you have that particular predisposition. I will see all of you guys very, very soon. And yes, thank you, Cranberry Langers. You too, my friend. The same as well to you. God bless you, brother, and your family as well. Take care, everybody, and here are the credits for my channel members. Thank you so much for your support. Take care.